gonna take him forever to clean that up. He said there's hazmat stuff.
We're probably not supposed to be here.
I'm getting video.
Something happened to my video.
Oh my gosh. Damn, we're gonna get in trouble for this. I know. You wanna switch drive? You wanna drive?
No, I ain't driving.
Earlier today, I did a segment for the show about another fire, the fourth industrial fire to take place in the state of Ohio just in the last few weeks. Now, all of a sudden, we have more news again out of Ohio. This time, it is another train derailment, the second train derailment in about 5 weeks, but this time it's in Springfield, Ohio, part of Clark County. Now, according to Clark County, there were no, and this is their quote, hazardous materials are not involved in this incident. Now, there are reports that there were no hazardous materials on the train, but I want to be clear that two things are happening. Number one, there have been hazmat crews sent out there. Now, they will know the manifest. Before they send out these crews, they will know whether or not there is a need to have a hazmat crew. And if they say, okay, so there are no hazardous materials on the train, I don't see why they would send out a hazmat crew. It's not something that's easy and fast to put together, right? It's not like they're just sitting there like firemen in their firehouse. Hazmat teams have to be called in and assembled and then ready to respond and moved quickly. It's a process. But with that said, they did it. Now, again, the official word is that there were no hazardous materials involved in the incident. News reports, I believe, it's possible, I'm not saying this is definitive, but it is possible that news reports are reading that as there were no hazardous materials on the train itself. I would say that, number one, we don't know that for sure. Number two, we're probably never going to learn that for sure. It's probably going to get swept under the rug. Hey, no hazardous materials were involved in this train derailment, even though it was less than 1/10 of the train, 20 cars out of 212 that actually derailed. So, yes, we sent out the hazmat crew out of abundance of caution for whatever reason, just in case, I guess, somebody was lying and there really were hazardous materials on the train. I don't know. Something seems fishy. And this is important to know. This is information that we need to know, because I think that it will tell us whether or not our nation is under attack. And we know our nation is under attack from multiple fronts, but is there specifically an attack that's taking place centered in the state of Ohio that has to do with, as I had noted earlier, what seems to be an awful lot of coincidences for one relatively small region of the nation. Coincidences that, let's say there were hazardous materials somewhere on the train. It would appear that somebody was trying to derail yet another train for yet another hazardous material reason. I don't know, and I have no evidence that the East Palestine train was intentionally derailed. I don't know, and I have no evidence whether or not the 4 massive industrial fires that have happened in Ohio in the last few weeks, if they had something to do with, again, acts of terrorism potentially. I don't know what they're doing, but I will tell you this, as I stated as a possible theory during that last segment. If the powers that be, the globalist elite cabal or whoever, was trying to cause a massive ecological disaster that would take place and perhaps even take out the entire East Coast, perhaps even the entire country, who knows? I don't know what their plans could possibly be. But with that said, if they wanted to do it, this could be how they would do it. And no, you wouldn't hear about it through corporate media. You wouldn't hear about it from government. You wouldn't hear about it from the FBI. We'll find out maybe in a couple of years that, oh, by the way, there was a terrorist plot and we foiled it. And you remember those fires we had, blah, 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 blah. Or maybe we'll never hear about it at all. Who knows? It seems like a lot of coincidences, an awful lot of coincidences centered around a single region of the nation, a single state, all having to do with the potential, at least, for industrial airborne chemicals being put into play. Now, these chemicals, we already know that the ones that were burned during the quote-unquote controlled burn in East Palestine, they are toxic. They're causing damages. Animals are dying. We're hearing reports of people getting sick. The water supply perhaps being tainted. Now combine that with 4 fires that seem to be happening randomly. These fires did include, they were caused intentionally, and they did include materials that somebody wanted to burn. This is how they would burn them and not have to worry about getting caught, basically. You can put an awful lot of chemicals into the atmosphere by disguising your burn within a larger industrial fire. So in this train derailment, now I'm starting to at least accept the possibility that the United States, and Ohio in particular, are under attack.